Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to. Hold on, I'm letting the colonel in. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Portsmouth Coffee Talks Morning Show. Every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And before we get started, make sure we're live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share this important show. And we're here. I'm James Slim Overton, and I'm here with the Colonel, Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, Colonel.
Morning. Good morning, morning, morning. Yes.
All right. And I guess Lee will be joining us shortly. And I'm here with one of our co-hosts. It's been a while since he's been on, but he's always in our radar. It's Mark Gildaldi Big Jachowski. And good morning, Mark. How you doing? And thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, sir. I'm wiping the sleep from my eyes.
Yep, we all do. Yep.
Yeah.
Those mornings come harder every day, but we're here and we've been doing it for a while. So, but anyway, I want to before you get started, we're gonna start out talking about it's a proposed salary increase in the city of Portsmouth City Council and the mayor. So we're gonna have a discussion about that, and it was I don't want to use the word triggered, but it was started out by the General Assembly, and Mark will explain more about that as he starts his comments. But I want to say one of the things I appreciate about Mark is he is at every council meeting, and I've always told or suggested to citizens to pay attention, or if you're going to watch the meeting or attend the meetings, go online and look at the agenda. Because a lot of people come to the meeting and get that sheet with the agenda on it. But if you do it in advance, it gives you an opportunity to get an expanded version of that agenda. It helps you know more about the agenda. What you receive, if you're just getting it at the meeting, then you're kind of behind, and you might miss out on some important questions you might have during that public hearing session. And I encourage people, a lot of people wait to the end of the meeting to make their comments where the council just sits there and listen to you, and might take some of it to heart. But you can now speak at both. At one time, you had to decide whether I want to speak at the end or do I want to speak during the public hearing sessions, where you had to do one or the other. You had to choose one or the other. Now you can do both. So if you have a bone to pick, you can wait at the end and pick that bone with the council politely, as the rule states, or you can also speak during the public hearing session, which is the most important part, I think, in my opinion, for you to speak or ask questions about what's on the agenda. It might be voted on that same night or under consideration for some time in the future. So I just wanted to say that so more people can take advantage of that part of the meeting. I think sometimes we miss out on that part of the meeting. We're so focused on waiting to the end to talk about some things of your interest or just to fuss out the council. And you missed out on some important votes they just made that might affect you or your community. So just start paying attention to what goes on in the beginning of the meetings and how you can participate as a citizen. And you might sway somebody's mind. You just might do that, or you might ask a question that might uh, trigger them to reconsider something that's on the agenda. If it's not a pressing issue. So start paying attention to the whole meeting, especially in the beginning. But anyway, Mark, you come here and we're going to discuss about the salaries. It's the big salary increase being considered. Uh, it hadn't been a salary increase for some time, and it might be warranted. It might not be. I don't know. But you start us off with the conversation on your take. I'm sure you'll be speaking tonight.
Thank you, sir. And what you said in the opening remarks is really essential. A lot of people who come to the microphone in the council chamber get some information, perhaps from what's published in the newspaper. The agenda is published ahead of time in the newspaper. Or pick up the copy from one of the sleeves on the way into the council chamber itself. But as you said, there is more information behind every item that's listed on the agenda. And there are only two ways to get to that. One is to sign on to the city's website and go to the agenda heading in the main index, click on the agenda, and then click on the individual items, which open up a new page with background information on the items to be discussed. Or if you are on the wrong side of the digital divide and don't have those skills or don't have the equipment to enable you to directly access it, you can reach out to the city clerk's office ahead of time and receive by email the background information on agenda items of interest.
And Mark, I just have to add too, because
Yes.
you know, when we go to those meetings and they have the agendas there for everybody at the meeting to pull out, you know, they assume that everybody sitting in that audience knows exactly what they're talking about. Well, I know they have to. Well, they assume, and that's not the case. And what I said and what you're saying now is just so important. You know that you really know, and I'm saying I'm repeating myself, but you know I just can't say how important this is and how people miss that mark, and then go back to their communities and wonder why they digging their street up, or why they're changing the street name, or doing something that might affect you that you had no idea that they were doing. So you know, find a way to know what that agenda is all about. Know the agenda for one thing. Even if you're watching at home, know the agenda and what's up there, because I bet you if they check the numbers, most people pop on near the end because that's what they want to see. They want to see the people that come up there, you know, and make those comments. Sometimes they're more entertaining than the business part of the meeting. So I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I just have to press on that and press on that. And it can't say it enough how important that is. If you're going to be concerned enough to attend the meetings or know what's going on in your city, and down the road it'll help you decide when it comes down to a vote or pick the right people to be on city council. Sorry, Mike, go ahead, continue. Mark, rather.
So I appreciate the underscoring of my points that you just made. You know, the most egregious thing to me, Mr. Moderator, that council members often show the same lack of preparation that some of our citizens do. They get hand delivered almost this information that we have to work a bit for, and still it's clear from some of the remarks and questions that they raised that they didn't do their homework before they came to council. And so when you're talking about compensation, you know, back when I worked in the private sector, I worked in the banking industry for 30 years and was a middle manager for one portion of my career. You know, I was very big on training the people who worked for me and ensuring that they didn't do things on the fly. because, in banking, customers don't appreciate mistakes. So when we compensated people in the private sector, there were two pieces to that. One was merit. What kind of job have you been doing? And the other was cost of living. In government, the same thing applies. The regular city employees, the ones hired by the city manager, get annual performance reviews, and everybody receives a cost of living adjustment when they're funded through the budget. But also there's an opportunity for individuals to receive merit increases. So what we're seeing here is a catch-up. I want to read from the resolution, from the ordinance rather, that council will need to adopt to put the salary increases into effect. So the ordinance establishes annual salaries of $47,000 for the position of mayor and $43,000 for the position of city council member, effective July 1st, 2025. So in case you don't carry those numbers around in your head, the current compensation level for the mayor is $25,000 a year, and for individual council members, it's $23,000. Now, according to this ordinance, and part of the justification for what the General Assembly did in this area was to lift the freeze on city council compensation. So in 2024, the General Assembly adopted House Bill 456, which authorized an increase in city council and mayoral salaries for the first time since the 1990s. What people do not realize in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and this is part of the Dillon rule, localities don't have the ability to set salary levels without permission from the General Assembly. So those prior limits of $25,000 and $23,000 in Portsmouth were set by the General Assembly previously. And so now it took General Assembly action to allow for a higher level of compensation. Because under the Dillon rule, localities can only do what the state legislature allows them to do. So this is sat at the same level for over 30 years. It's a little bit deceptive to say that, though, because how many members of council have been in those seats for 30 years? Exactly 0. The longest sitting member of council has served for 26 years. The others have served for terms of fewer than 10 years, and most of the council members have served for 4 to 6 years. So it's not as though they've been held to the same salary level for a 30-year period. However, as I've said to council, I'm a collective bargaining advocate. I'm a person who believes in fair compensation to people who work for the city, elected officials included. And I believe there should be a mechanism in place other than the generosity of the General Assembly that allows for cost of living increases as we go along, just as the employees, the regular general wage employees, tend to receive through the annual budget process. So I would not be adverse to having legislation that stated that city council members would participate at the same rate as general wage employees. So let me stop and leave room for other comments at this point.
Good, any comments? Let me ask this first. I'm hearing some feedback. Does anybody have some things going on in the background that might be? I don't know if you all can hear it. I'm hearing some feedback every once in a while.
I'm hearing the feedback as
I
well.
hear the feedback every
Having
so often.
difficulty hearing Mark. If Mark can get a little closer to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll slide in here.
Thank you.
Does this improve it?
Say something, Mark.
Does this improve it?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I just heard it when you talked.
Okay, so the that noise sort of sounds like a ceiling
fan.
Sort of.
Sound like a fan is.
At any rate.
Yes.
Let me move on here. So the first.
Okay, I don't hear it now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
So the first notice to the public about this item actually occurred as an add-on item in the May 14th work session. You'll remember, I hope, that May 14th was the night that this year's budget was being considered. So people had a lot of other things to think about that evening, but there was a presentation done on how this salary increase proposal made its way into and out of the General Assembly this year. The interesting part is the process provides for a public hearing on the proposal and implementation in the next fiscal year after a council election has occurred. So tonight's public hearing meets that first specification. If I had drafted the legislation, it would have said that a referendum would occur before the salary increase would take effect. The difference being that in a public hearing, the public can sign up to speak, and council is present in the chamber when the public speaks, but we could have 20 people speak and 15 of them could oppose the proposal, but council could vote to adopt it anyway.
Yes, and let me bring up this point too. Even if, like you said, 15 people oppose it, and maybe with the actual numbers that they're proposing, going from 25 to or 23 to 43, they could oppose it. But I saw something where they have to do something at least 4 months before the next election. So would tonight be the only time they would have to actually vote on that to fall within that that part of the code?
So we are 6 months away from the
Okay,
general
so
election.
they don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah. Well, let me redo that math, because that 6 months was based on May. So now we're 5 months away.
Okay.
Still ahead of the curve, but if you were going to make a change based on tonight's hearing, you'd have to advertise, I believe, for another public hearing, which means another 2 weeks elapses. And so we're closer to that 4 month window.
Yeah.
So my point about the referendum is, with a referendum, the citizens get to go thumbs up or thumbs down in the November election regarding the proposal. Now, really, there's another piece of this. The maximum salary allowed by this legislation that was adopted in 2024 is 47 for the mayor and 43 for council members. So council could actually be putting on the table an intermediate raise. You notice they didn't do that.
Yeah, half this year and half next year, sort of
Yes.
to balance out the,
Yes.
they going for the max.
Yes. Um, there's something that seems like take the money and run in that.
And before, and we talked earlier, and the other co-host will chime in. I was mentioning, things to consider. You talk about merit and all that, things to consider. It's across the board for each council person, whatever decided, and then you wonder about each one of them deserving of that. When it comes down to missed meetings or how much they put into community outreach and things like that. Because you see some people that you actually see putting more in, but the raise are come across the board. And I think people that might have some issue with it is because the equality of it. But we can't do anything about that because it's going to be across the board. But the only way you can, if you have issue about that with certain council people, you can make that decision in November. But that would be my concern. Everybody's gonna get this raise if it goes to that way. I would prefer the increments. Some
Yes.
this year and maybe some next year, rather
Mhm.
than making that kind of jump. And then three of the people are gonna make a decision for possibly three new people to
Mhm.
take advantage. Nothing wrong with that, but so, but my issue would be, is everybody deserving of that? But
Exactly.
you can't gauge that because, like I said, it's across the board. Whatever happens, all are going to be compensated equally, but might not be putting in the equal work. So it's just carrying that name of being a council person entitles you to that salary, but it might not, in some citizens' eyes, entitle you to as much as some of the other ones. But that's the world we live in as far as the way that goes. But that's why I would agree with I agree that they might need an increase. Uh, because it's been so long since they've seen anything like that. But that kind of jump, is is a little much for me. You know,
And that could well be an issue in the election.
yeah,
And it could cost some council members and the mayor their seats if people are really unhappy about this being adopted. That's something they have to keep in the backs of their minds.
Right.
So it's not necessarily take the money and run. It might be just run if you want to get reelected. Um, and again, this goes back to your three-way prescription, uh, especially the part about being informed. How many citizens know that this is on the agenda tomorrow? And how many citizens who didn't know about it ahead of time will be upset when they read about it or see it covered on our TV stations after the fact, when the vote has already been taken, and decide in November, well, I'm not happy. Uh, this is not without risk. In the event, had the legislation been written so that there would be a referendum, then council would be off the hook in the sense that the public has the last word on it, not by kicking people out of their seats for doing what the public didn't like, but by saying, no, we don't like it, and so it's not going to happen this
Yeah.
time around.
And Mark, it's not mandated by the state because you see other cities not choosing to do it at this time, even though they have the ability to do that. They might, so
They might be watching us as the
yeah,
test case.
want us to be the test case, yeah, the guinea pigs.
The other thing about it is, and this is again part of the Dillon rule.
Mm.
In Virginia, a lot of legislation, like the casino legislation, doesn't name names in terms of what the General Assembly authorizes. So this particular legislation applies to cities of a certain population size,
Mm.
as many other pieces of legislation do. But those who write the legislation know specifically who they're talking about because there are only certain cities that fall into the parameters, and sometimes only one city or locality that falls into the parameters. So a piece of legislation that applies to, say, our neighbor Virginia Beach would specify cities of 400,000
Yeah,
and above, of which at the moment there's just one.
yeah,
Um, so the salary for a member of council or the mayor of Virginia Beach is not restricted by the language of this particular legislation. They have a higher tier. A place like Franklin would have a lower tier. So this isn't uniform across the Commonwealth. It's based on how big the locality is in terms of its population.
mm. Yeah. Colonel Aaliyah.
Well, you know what? I'll chime in here real quick because I got a I guess it would be a bug, and I understand what you're saying, Mark, as far as the pay raises and everything that they're asking for, and they're almost acting as if they were Congress who asks every so often. They ask for these big raises, and there you have folks that are saying, yes, I can't afford to be up here in Congress, even though I'm making $175,000 in a year plus perks, which is probably if you look at Matt Gaetz and them, they're billing the since they took over the House, they started this program where they actually have to bill the Congress or the American people for what they eat every day, as if they get a per diem for doing the job that they do. You're the one that asked to come to Congress, and now you're fleecing the American people. So that's what you get when you put the Republicans in. So let me go back and digress about city council. So if you wanted a raise, why not just say, okay, not going to take this big raise, but just tie it to whatever the people of the city gets every year. When you give the city a 3% raise, you also get a 3% raise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't do that on their salary. It has to be initiated by the. Are you talking about going forward?
Going forward.
Okay.
Whatever
Okay.
the city gets, that's what you get.
Yeah. Let me read what Elizabeth Simmons
Yeah.
says. Colonel, I'll
Reading
come
that as
back to
well.
you. Elizabeth
Mhm.
Simmons, who was a former council person and vice mayor. She says, great topic, thank you. I'm not in favor of the big jump all at once. She recommends, 50,000 a year over
5,000.
four, over
5,000 a
four,
year.
huh?
5,000 a year over 4
I
years.
mean, I'm sorry, 5,000 a year, that's 50, that would be 5,000 a year over a 4-year period. And this was never supposed to be a full-time job making more than full-time city employees. And I guess it would fall in line if they make that jump, they would be making more than some of the full-time employees, even
You're
with
right,
the
James.
raises.
You're right, because I went back to look at some of the full-time employee salaries. They would be making more than a lot of the full-time employees. And I just don't see them getting that much of a raise all at once. I think it should be incremental. I think they deserve a raise. It's been a long time since they received the raise, but that's absolutely too much. It's not a full-time job. You have
Yeah,
some people who only come to the council meetings and come to the sessions. They don't attend anything in the community. They don't support anything in the community. You only see them during the council meeting. I just think it's too much money for someone who's just working a part-time job.
Yep. Some of them just come to the council to do their own Facebook all day.
Exactly.
And to obstruct. And so just tie it to what the citizens get. If the employees that work in the city say they get their 2% or whatever, then you tie that, then we'll accept 2%. But it's almost like it's saying, well, we're getting all this extra money from the casino. Why not take my cut?
When you when
And
you
I
have
use
when you
that as
have
a
people who work
metaphor.
within the city who need to
Yeah,
make a comfortable wage and they're not making it.
but the
yeah.
money from the casino was supposed
No,
to
I
help
use that.
relieve the citizens.
Yeah, I know, but I use that as a metaphor. It's
No, no,
almost
I'm agreeing with you, Colonel. I'm saying,
robber baron
the, the main
said,
purpose of the money from the citizens is to
yeah,
casinos relieve the citizens and projects that we have, not to all of a sudden say, okay, since we're getting this money, let's do our
yeah,
raises since the General Assembly is giving us that opportunity.
yeah,
And it's not like you have to do it. And to Mark's point about people coming before council, it could be 25 that say no. Hopefully, this is one of those times going against the history of uh, public hearings that they will listen to the citizens, because in the past, several people can outnumber who oppose or agree, and they still vote, to oppose, but no consideration. Say, let's rethink this, or at the meeting say, okay, let's not go for the whole 40, 47, 43. Let's do it in increments. So
Right.
but you know
hopefully,
what?
so cooler heads will prevail tonight. I
I
mean,
don't have
tomorrow night.
And
Slim.
hopefully the
I don't have a
citizens will
lot of
come
faith
out.
in that
And
theory.
hopefully
It doesn't have a lot of faith because they have a
Yeah,
history of,
neither do I, Colonel, because
yeah,
I know the history of how they,
yes.
yeah,
even though I encourage people to speak up during those times, and I think if people spoke up more often during those times, I think it might eventually down the road make a difference. But you got a few people speaking, and people like Mark that comes with receipts. Talking about some of the things that he opposes. And I always thought, if anything, it deserves consideration. But it's just like thanks, and then vote. Wow, So I've yet to see now. I have to research my memory, and it's probably have happened with some councils where they say, that's a good point. Let's reconsider this. And
I've never heard
but
it. I've never
I
heard it, James. I've never,
I think
never.
I've heard it before one time because I go way back. But and being a member of the planning commission, I have changed my mind at the meeting, because of what citizens said to us, because a point was brought up that we weren't provided with by the planning department, you know, and we didn't, and to consider what the citizens might say I think is admirable, but I haven't seen it within our council as much,
Yeah, that
or
is,
to the point where, they have enough votes to
Yeah.
outvote it. I've seen individual council people raise, concerns about it, but then they get outvoted.
Yes. So I think they've disqualified themselves, at least a couple of them that I know, that says, for example, and I'll use this for an example. I don't have the numbers right. I'm going to spend $80,000 on an investigation, and to get 40,000, find out what happened to 40,000,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes on and on and on. And so you have not done your homework. You don't even deserve to be on the city council for some of them jokers, but they know that the citizens have a short memory. And I may have my voting block. I may have my church members, and then I have my hood where I'm at, or whatever metaphor you want to use. And they know I'm coming back to power because I've talked enough and put enough money back there, and got enough people running for those seats that I want to dilute the vote. So I'm basically guaranteed to come back. So why should I care about what the American citizens want or the people of Portsmouth want? They could care less. So you'll see I'll get another term where I could sit up there and be disruptive, not do anything in my term to help anybody in any of their citizens, other than figure out how I can make some money on the side.
I guess this in a way would be a performance review if the citizens show up. Talk
Yes.
about what they've done and what they have not done.
Yeah.
Do they deserve that much of a raise?
Yeah.
Well, they have the opportunity tomorrow night,
This
and the big opportunity will be in November.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's going to be whatever happens tomorrow night. November is going to be, and that's why some of the other cities are not dealing with it right now. Because who
Exactly.
wants to deal with that in an election cycle when you're trying to get back in office and you're going to raise the salary? And you don't have to right now. You can wait until next year. When hopefully you get back in office, you can wait till next year, and then. But that would be my thinking.
Not just raise your salary, but double your salary. That's a pretty good one. I wish I could do that on my job. I wish I could come in and then make that decision. I'm going to raise my salary to twice as much as I make.
Well, and the cost of living, and I understand that too. But most people on council have, it's a part-time job to them because they have other jobs.
Exactly.
So it's not a big pressing issue for them to make a whole lot of money. I mean, they deserve to be compensated for, what they do for our city. It goes beyond the average citizen couldn't do that. Most of the councilmen that you see everywhere and commit to, to the communities and to the city, and sometimes sacrificing family time and all that. But most council members, even in other cities, they have other jobs. And it's just like if you have a regular job and you have a part-time job, you don't depend on the part-time job to pay your bills. You supplement you, but but anyway, so we'll see how the vote goes. Who votes for what?
You and I were talking before the official start about some of the other compensation the council members receive. So one of the forms of compensation is meals on council meeting days when the meeting is in the dinner time frame. So 5 o'clock meetings bring a box dinner to their table. They qualify to participate in the Virginia retirement system. They're eligible to contribute and have that contribution matched up to a certain level. I don't know what the threshold is. It's some percentage. So when they leave council, they would qualify to draw a pension through the Virginia retirement system.
Mm-hmm.
They are eligible to participate in the city's health plan. This would be at the same, I believe, the same rate as a city employee would be.
And that's on top of what they get from their regular job if they have one.
Yes. When they travel on city business, for example, there are regional meetings and there are certain association meetings, the National League of Cities, the Virginia Municipal League, First Cities, and so on. If you are a designated representative to that body, to those bodies, you get your mileage reimbursed. And if it involves staying overnight somewhere, you get your lodging and meal expenses reimbursed. There's a retreat every year or so. Your expenses of travel to the retreat, your meals and lodging are reimbursed. So there are a few perks that go with the job outside of the salary.
Yeah, I think you get a city cell phone as well. But you know, it's just, we'll see. We'll see how the vote goes tomorrow, and it'd be interesting to see how the public feels about it, and I hope more people are aware that this vote is going to take place tomorrow, and be there. And don't wait to the end of the meeting to complain after they've already voted. So that's not going to help anybody. But like I said, regardless of what happens, November, don't forget November 5th. You know, watch who votes for what. Anyway, before we end, I want one other thing, Mark. I think coming up, the innovation district that's going to be coming up, that they're going to approve there, and people need to know about that too. That's that area between Effingham Street and where in between Effingham Street and where the social services building is in IC North, and for years that was an eyesore spot in there. They just recently did a lot of murals on those buildings to make it look better, you know, for the time being. I think it's still, but they have they want to make that area to reconfigure High Street to make it more green, I guess greener or something like that, and enticing to other businesses to come in there because there's a lot of vacant buildings there, old buildings that they've just sort of put a bandage on it as far as aesthetics, you know, with the murals, and I appreciate that, but it needs, you know, you got this disconnect between downtown, Old Town, and where the IC Northam School is, and the rest of the city. So people that ride through there, you know, it should be consistent. You know, High Street is our main street of the city. It should be consistent, I think. So hopefully, you know, if they pass that it won't be set on the shelf, because that's a plan that was presented back in the 1990s for something to happen like that. And, you know, so here we are again. So hopefully that's something that can pass. How you feel about that plan, Mark? Innovation.
I have sat in on a number of work sessions, or a number of, I guess you'd call them work sessions, not council work sessions, but community work sessions on it. And There's been a lot of interest from members of the business community, the public, and a lot of sound ideas going into this. But you know, all the best laid plans come to naught if there's no follow through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we've been deficient in the past. We have probably a couple of bookshelves in City Hall of plans.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Yeah, the willingness to implement them and the money required to implement them are really the bottom line on any of them.
So, well, we'll see what happens there, and then we're dealing with the jail now. It looks like that's going to be for the time being, Leah, the permanent housing for since the fire at the old place. I don't think that the sheriff is planning on going back to that building, right? Am I correct?
Right. I have not heard any plans of them going back.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're trying to get the new place retrofitted to meet the needs of the jail. But there's a lot of work that has to be done in that building as well. So I guess they're working on that, and you know, and I just think back to how 6 years ago, Sheriff Moore took a plan to the city council 6 years ago.
Yeah.
He took a plan, and it probably would cost, I think it was between $40 and $60 million to build a new jail, which would have been right there near the courthouse. But you didn't have the transportation piece that would have needed to be in place, and it would have been a better fit. That building is so huge. The sheriff's office owner would be using a portion of that building, a small portion of that building. And as I stated, there's still a lot of work that has to be done on the building. So we'll just have to wait and see what will take place and how they're going to get the building up to par to meet the needs, to fit the needs of the jail today. So time will tell. And the city has to take some ownership in taking care of the buildings too. Historically, the city has not taken care of their buildings. And we see that in our schools now, you know, new schools. Look at the jail, so many problems there. I mean, at the courthouse, it need to do a better job of taking care of the buildings that they have. And buildings will last a lot longer if they take care of them.
And that takes us back to when you're considering about giving yourself a raise. You know, you
Exactly.
you gotta look at, you know, even though the cost of living and things like that might dictate, well, we hadn't had a raise in a long time. So, but when you look around the city and you know, you see things that have been overdue, maintenance delayed and things like that,
Yes.
or if you've been watching council for the last few years and what the people see is Discord, you know, up there and doing the meetings, and you'd be wondering, okay, so look how long it took to. Thank God they got the tower painted, you know, and redone, but it never should have got to that point. Never should have gotten to that point. Something so visible,
Yes.
and so you know, all this ties in. So when you're thinking about, that's why we want to have this show. When you start thinking about giving a raise, you know, those questions have to be asked. You know, have you really done? And it might not be directly to the ones that are sitting now, but over the years. And you have one councilman that's been there for 20 some years. So, you know, so he's been there through all of that. So,
And we're the visionaries.
it'll be interesting to see how he votes.
What is the
I'm talking
vision?
about Moody.
Well, yeah, but what is the vision that you have for the city? I don't, you know, when you look at Suffolk and you look at Norfolk, you see the vision, you see things taking place, you see renovations, you see things just happening, and you just don't see it in Portsmouth, you know? So who is the visionary? Where are the visionaries in
The
Portsmouth?
visions are there. They are there, like Mark mentioned. You know, you want to see that room where all those plans are. Those visions are there. All you had to do is sort of tweak them and bring them up to the modern times. So those visions, you had visionaries way back then that looked in. They brought in people like Ray Gendrich, who was a nationally known city planner, and things we're talking about now, he saw back in the '90s
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
Portsmouth,
And still
and
hasn't
put
taken
together a
place.
plan. And the
A
plan
plan.
is
It's just a plan.
somewhere sitting around, and I know that for a fact because I was there,
Uh-huh.
a part of that, and so that's why I have issues with you know with the big jump, you know, so
Well,
just
I just hope the citizens will show up. Hope the citizens will speak up. After tomorrow, it's too late. You can't
well
speak up after the fact. You need to speak up.
well
Well, you can speak up at the election as well, but tomorrow you should make your voice known.
yeah, don't let Mark be the only one.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
I'll summarize my feelings is we talk about visions. And I always said that yes, those plans that Mark talks about on the big bookshelves that are sitting in City Council somewhere up in the third floor or back there, that you have to have a hazmat suit to get back there because it's collected so much dust. They do exist, but it still boils down to we have people that have no vision that sit up there. But I've always said I boil it down to there are some that have no bandwidth to implement or even think about what's a way for the future. And without bandwidth, then you're just there as an empty vessel. And we do have them. And then so they are banking on the short memories, as I said, of the people that go out to vote. And you put them back in office and they will benefit from the program because the longer I stay on city council, the longer I can stay in the VRS system, Virginia retirement system. And then I'm going to over, if they're playing the long game, then I'm going to get better benefits in my retirement and stuff like that. And then I'll get this pay raise that I'm going to give myself. And then by this time, and I'm also looking at getting some city contracts or getting my buddies some city contracts, and I'm going to get some backdoor money. So, but it's interesting we talk about this jail and spending tens of millions of dollars to lock up the citizens of Portsmouth. And it's rather than, yes, you could do the jail. There is a need for a new jail. But where is the money to help create jobs and do other things to advance the city other than putting a brand new jail out there or refurbishing the jail that you have out there? It's an oxymoron. If that's the only vision that we have is to redo the jail, get me a pay raise, then there's something wrong. There is
no, well,
something wrong.
the jail has always, from years ago, been a part of the whole picture,
But
along with what you're saying now, because
Yeah.
it's something that we have to have.
that is
It's just something that's been ignored and cost us money, where we
Exactly.
couldn't do some of the things that you're
Exactly.
mentioning, Colonel. So it's always been a part of the big picture, but it's never been, taken to the next level. Like it should have been a long time ago, and we wouldn't be talking about it today.
Exactly. And it wouldn't cost as much. And it would not have cost as much if they're taking
True.
care of the need.
Now
See,
it's a lot more
and
costly.
that's once again not looking at what the needs of the city have as opposed to what you're doing. The fact of the matter with the juvenile facility, we've been utilizing Chesapeake juvenile detention. What makes you think a city is going to forever take care of the needs of your children? During that time, there should have been some vision there to say, well, maybe we need a juvenile facility in Portsmouth to meet the needs in Portsmouth.
Should have
We
been
don't
working
have
on that
that.
then.
We
Yeah.
don't have Chesapeake. Chesapeake don't take our children anymore. So now our children have to go all the way to Bristol, Virginia, or to Northern Virginia. That costs more money. You have to have a transportation team to get them there, to get them back for court. The attorneys can't get to them. The families can't get to them. Is there a vision in place to develop a juvenile detention facility in Portsmouth? Are
Mhm.
there any plans in place to get a juvenile facility instead of taking these children all the way to Bristol, Virginia, and to Northern Virginia?
And there'll be somebody out there to take these kids because you know what, Leah, it's all about this. Put them in the
But
children
no, but
in the
there's no
justice
one to
system.
take them really, Colonel. It's the
Yeah,
court
but they
security.
run out. Yeah, the spaces run
The
out
court,
because we're allowing
yeah,
more
I
and more.
mean, yeah,
Let's
and
let's do some
you look at
intervention.
court
Keep
security is
them from
doing
going
this.
into the system.
You know,
What are we doing to keep them from going into that system?
I can hear you.
What are we doing to keep them out of, to get them out of, keep them from going into the system? Are
Listen,
we giving
there's
the
a whole lot.
same effort to keep them
Yeah,
out of it?
that's a big
Then
part of it too.
It is a
that
big
is
part of it.
that is a larger piece. Prevention.
But for those that you can't help, you need some
Yeah,
place for them to be other than Bristol,
right.
Virginia, and Northern Virginia.
Mhm. Right.
You're gonna always have those temporary incorrigible
Yeah, you
out there
are.
that we
You
need
are.
to
You
deal
know,
with in some kind of way.
that's for
But
sure.
we're winding down, and before we go, and I want to give all the guest hosts and hosts the opportunity to have the last word. But I want to mention that one of our hosts, Leah Stitt, had a busy weekend this weekend. She hosted the Toddler Time Child Development Center preschool graduation, which we had them on the show not too long ago. And then yesterday, she was the youth speaker at St. John Baptist Church, Reverend Earls. And just tell us briefly about that, Leah. That was the biggest part. I was there too, was seeing those little kids,
James,
preschool.
they were
Uh,
amazing.
it gives you hope for the future. You
And
know,
I just hope that what she has sown into those children will be developed when they get to public school. Because
Mhm.
those children were reading, they were subtracting, they were adding, they were doing their sight words. Those young children, they were ready. And I mean, Toddler Time does an amazing job with the children. They are not just a babysitting place. They are actually teaching those children what they need to know in order to make it in public school. So I
Mhm.
want to commend Teresa Cox Ford, Thomas Ford, and the staff at Toddler Time. It was a beautiful graduation held at the Impact Church over there on Town Point Road. So we want to thank the pastor of that church for opening her doors, Vermonica, for opening her doors to Toddler Time, and they're going to do a summer program at that school
Hmm.
at the church as well. So I think it's between the ages of 5 to 7. I'll have to get the ages from
yeah,
her.
yeah,
They're going to do a summer program, and they are doing amazing work with the young people. So the graduation, James, was lovely. You
yeah,
can go back on my page and see how beautiful the children were and how great they were during the graduation. And then
yeah.
yesterday, I did
And
have
we
the
have some of that graduation on our the Coffee Talks
on the Coffee
YouTube
Talk
channel as
page,
well.
on
And
YouTube
I see
channel.
Cardell Patillo watching, and one encouraging thing about those preschool students, a foreign language is included in what they're learning. So by the
Exactly.
time those children get to the elementary school, where the dual language
Dual
immersion
program.
is getting started this fall, they'll be ready for
They
that.
will
So,
be ready.
and the younger they get ready, and Colonel, the younger they are and involved in school, then those problems that come up with our youth that you were talking about, that can help too, and it would help the whole
Exactly.
school system, Cardell, improve, because the students will be prepared before they even get to high school. I mean, get
Exactly.
to elementary school. So that's so important. And that program was just encouraging to me, and seeing them speaking Spanish, and at 4 and 5 years old.
We even had to have a Spanish interpreter
Yeah,
as I MC the program because there have a child there who came there who did not speak English when he
yeah,
came there. His parents were there, and that child did the Pledge of Allegiance, and he was just so proud of himself he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But we had an interpreter there as well to interpret for the family members who did not speak English. So that was a big. It was just a great event.
Yeah.
And then to get to St. John's Church, I'm just so thankful to Pastor Earl and Karen Earl and their daughter Christina and her husband Jeremy for inviting me to be the Youth Day speaker at St. John's. It was a wonderful affair as well. James was there again. So, but we had a great time at St. John's, and I was able to deliver the message on God knows you, but do you know who you are and whose you are? And the children received it well, and
Great message.
it was a great weekend, a great
Yeah.
weekend. Pouring back into the community, Mark, pouring back. And where our council members were pouring back. I think Lisa Lucas Burke and the mayor were the only two council people there, along with Yolanda from the school board. They were the only ones who were present to see the great job that's taking place with the children in our community. If they come out and see some of the things that's going on in the community and seeing what's taking place with the children, you know how to service the needs of this is a part of your population as well. So you need to be out there taking
come
place.
out and see what the kids need so y'all can stop going at each other.
Exactly.
Okay. The last comments, start with you, Mark.
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You made your next comments will be at the council meeting tomorrow night, I guess, with a line of people behind you, I'm sure. Colonel, anything?
Well, I will go back and I'm gonna sit in silence because Leah has just summarized what I said is about having priorities and investment in our youth, so we don't have to fund another jail 20 years from now, and they have that jail is one of the two biggest things that we're going to have on an agenda because we have people without vision and have no bandwidth other than staying in office and grifting off of society. And then so I will rest my case there, and you can read into it and take it and I'm telling it like it is. You may not like it out there, but you know who I'm talking about. Grifter.
Yeah. And also Cardell Patillo, who's chairman of the school board, mentioned it's Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. dual language program info session. Is that at the school? Okay. Visit the website. Okay. All right. So if you need information about that, because I think it's a program you have to sign up for, Leah, I believe.
Yes.
And if you sign up and you're a parent, you have to be involved as well. You can't there's no drop-off program for the parents. You have to be just as involved in that program as your child. So I think it's a good thing.
James, if I remember correct, it starts in the elementary school and it continues on until they get to high school. Am I correct? Isn't that what they said?
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I guess
information. Go to the information section.
And go to the website and find out for sure so we can verify.
Right.
Yeah, he says yes. He says yes. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. And remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this show this evening. And make sure, if you can, make it out to the council meeting tomorrow night, or watch it on. Just make sure you're informed. So whatever happens tomorrow night, you'll know. You'll have a pretty good idea what you want to do in November. So, but make sure you also vet all the candidates that declared their candidacy for city council and school board. Take your time. You have time. Take your time and make the right decisions. Elections have consequences, and we, over the years, have seen some of the consequences of the decisions we've made as a city. But a lot of them have been good, some of them not so good, to be completely honest. So let's just pay attention. You know what you need, you know what you want in your community and in your city. So make sure you put the right people where they need to be in order to move us forward. Take care. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.